So as we talk about the vision for DEI, we also have to look at some of our approach to DEI has been very surface level. Many people now are talking about race. Many people now are talking about race. And if anybody tries to talk to me about race, I want to be like, what part of race do you want to talk about? Because there's so many layers, but race is still only one way that we identify, one way that we show up in the world. So when we start to add other layers like ethnicity, culture, our mental or physical ability, our age, our sex, our sexual orientation, and then our gender expression or gender identity, we start to look at these as ways that people identify in the world and in the workplace. And all of these identifying factors will impact our leadership, right? So then we start to add other life factors, career factors, and then life experiences, including traumas and what we've experienced in our family or haven't experienced in our family. This is the best we could do to encapsulate intersectionality. This comes from United Way of Asheville, and saying that every single one of the people in your organization is a combination of these factors. Go ahead and type in the chat, how many people are in your organization? How many people are in your organization? We're working in one organization that has 300 people. So you think about how many folks are in this. So someone says 3,000, okay, right? Every single person we're interacting with is a combination of this. So when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and creating a culture that can be crisis-proof, it's really creating a culture of equity as a systematic effort to advance people of all diversities in your organization. I grew up here in Miami, Florida. And the interesting thing is there's so many diverse groups that oftentimes when we would be working to help one group, there's another group that raises their hand and say, hey, what about me? And that's happening over and over and again in the workplace. We start to create this tension and this friction. And what some organizations have been doing is saying, okay, we need to hire more diverse folks. And we ask, okay, what gets in the way? And they'll tell us lots of things. But I'll tell you, when we really understand what gets in the way, it's mistrust. Mistrust can be the most expensive problem a company has, but it's hard to quantify because most people don't put on paper, oh, I don't trust you. But it shows up in our behaviors and our actions, including how they go about navigating diversity, equity, inclusion. A lot of folks are pursuing visual diversity. So you're just meeting me for the first time. And when you meet me for the first time, the couple of things you can tell about me are my race. We're going to say the race is human race, by the way, right? We're just going to go and lump us all together here. So we're going to say race, appearance, and then you can tell a little bit about my body language. So this is visual diversity. People are hiring for visual diversity right now. And they're going nuts trying to say, how do we bring more Black people into our company? And like, okay, first of all, when you're asking things like that, that starts to create more tension of, are you trying to hire top talent or are you trying to hire top diverse talent? Because folks who have those kind of choices now are saying, well, if I don't trust the company, why should I be a part of it? Because even beyond what you can see here, when we start to talk, then maybe you get a couple more. Then maybe you get a couple more of understanding a little bit more about me and my communication style. But the rest we start to fill in as bias. The rest some people are not even able to bring to work. So as we start talking about mistrust, the more we can bring of ourselves to the workplace, the more likely we are to trust the workplace and trust our team. The more that we have to hide, or the more that is going to be written off, the less likely we are to trust our team, the higher our mistrust is. And so it's interesting how this brings in, I love this next piece. So Debbie hasn't seen this yet either. Got a quick little sneak peek there. So as we've been talking about change management and really honoring the work that ProSite does, so ProSite talks about these 10 aspects of a job, right, of an employee's job. So we have things from processes, systems, tools, job roles, critical behaviors, mindset, attitude, reporting structure, performance review, compensation, and location. And so anytime these things are changing, we have to invite change management to make sure employees can have this conversation and move it forward. Now, what's interesting is that human being, that representation, from our perspective, we would replace it with that diagram and say that this is intersectionality, navigating with change, that a given person has all of these different factors at play. And when we have this in harmony, when you can bring more of yourself to the workplace, then the changes that we're navigating are not as difficult to navigate together because we're able to bring our full selves and we're being given information, we're being navigated through change in culturally appropriate ways. Oftentimes what's happening now is people are just giving one format of information as opposed to multi-format. So what that could look like, for example, if I'm just talking to you this whole time, even if I'm engaging, like, oh man, this is kind of boring. I'm throwing visuals at you. We got music coming on. This is a multi-format or multi-sensory experience to give you information in a multi-format way to guide you through change. But a lot of organizations are not doing that. Just written documents or maybe an email that if you miss it, you miss it. The change is rolling beyond it. So as we start talking more about this, and we're saying this would be ideal for a one kind of snapshot of what can be a crisis-proof culture where you have a whole human being, a person who's feeling honored, who's feeling safe, who's feeling seen in their organization, and they have their 10 tasks or they have these 10 job aspects and they have a voice in these 10 job aspects so that way they can create a pathway towards thriving. What generally happens though is when people are stripped down of this and we have to do things like code switching, which is us literally having to change who we are based on who's in the room and what rooms we're even in, we start to see that the more we're focused on that, the less we can even be focused on our jobs. And as I'm looking at all the cameras here, I want to point out that something Dr. Michelle Borba talks about is called the empathy gap. It says as anxiety increases, our empathy decreases. So just you can either put in the chat, you can put the word up, or if you're on camera, you can point up. Has your anxiety gone up or down this year? Up or down? Mine sure has gone up. You'll say up for sure. So with Dr. Michelle Borba's research saying that as anxiety increases, our empathy decreases. So the thing that we would need to actually navigate and build trust is empathy and those relational pieces. So the more those things start to break down, we're thinking about the outside world at work, and then we're not able to talk about those things. We then have to hide what's happening, hide the things that are difficult for us, and we can't even ask for help. And this is how we keep fueling fires instead of forward progress.